Trump's re-election, for better or worse, has been a very notable event in American politics. Whether or not we will see any amount of the myriad promises of the incoming Trump administration, there is one certain change, that being within the minds of our countrymen. During times such as this, the opinions and views of countless thousands, even millions, are more malleable to the striking effects of political organizing. It is possible that the fundamental basis for the two-party split in the politics of the United States has changed. This is not unprecedented, but it is not certain either. It can be said with more certainty, however, that the spirit of the old Republican Party has been thoroughly reshaped in Trump's image. And, of course, we may not want to grant too much credit to the Trump campaign for its victory. There is an uncertain, but not insignificant amount of the GOP's win which can be attributed to their opponent being an uncharismatic, temperamental, and ethnically ambiguous woman. This is not the archetypical leader voters instinctively gravitate towards. If Trump does make of himself a servant to the nation's interest by deporting the invaders in our midst or breaking the proverbial back of the so-called deep state, then it's every reason for nationalists to push so that an opportunity for change is not lost. If Trump squanders the mandate he has been given in the use of piddling conservative politics or years of ineffective pandering, it's all the more reason for nationalists to also press forth and provide the clear alternative to the scores of increasingly disenfranchised Americans who still care for their country. Our opposition to the incoming administration is not founded in our belief that mass deportations, the defense of the traditional American family, or the severance of government bureaucracy are not noble or patriotic goals. It is that we don't believe Trump to be an honest or appropriate champion of them. Moreover, Trump's gross affection towards Zionism and legal immigration pose staunch barriers to an honest portrayal of him as one who places America first. We will not be blind to the lessons learned from elections past, as many have traded loyalty for or against Trump several times over, gained nothing, and exchanged their credibility alongside their affiliation at each turn. We, as those tasked with reintroducing virtue into politics, must abstain from the temptation of picking the lesser of two evils. It's important to have political entities such as ours that can remain neutral in principle to both sides of party politics. We maintain our position of independence against insufficiently nationalist candidates. There's a harrowing amount of information that can be sampled to draw predictions about the incoming administration, and plenty of digital pundits will be more than happy to do just that. A lot of the disagreement stems from supporters and detractors taking different pieces of information, discarding what doesn't suit their narrative, and extrapolating the rest themselves. Democracy breeds this very kind of hysteria, where politicians must remain constantly ambiguous in their true convictions to appeal to the wide-reaching, heterogeneous voter base. It's very plausible that the GOP takes the demographic shift of their voter base as the culmination of their decades of compromise in attempts to court the vote of unassimilable foreigners from Mexico and other third-world countries south of the border. Whereas many years of repudiation from the minority vote did not discourage them from pandering, it is hard to say if the electorally minded of the GOP will have the manhood to follow up on any of the promises that may alienate them to the aliens. We have crossed a threshold where both parties are truly and invariably convinced that they require a coalition made up of foreigners to establish their mandate for power. This can only spell out the ultimate disenfranchisement and eventual displacement of the American stock. That is why a nationalist and truly patriotic option must be made available for those of our race and nation. Alternatively, this could be a very notable shift by the fact that never before, at least in the post-civil rights era, has there been such a mandate given to a candidate who so openly promised to tackle the issue of immigration and heal the demographic decline of our country. This indicates that, at least, there is a widespread and fundamentally normalized opposition to the invasion of foreigners. If there was a time for the government to get the message to act seriously on the issue of the ethnic replacement of Americans, even through tangential subjects, such as illegal immigration specifically, that is now. Those constituents need to be educated, organized, and mobilized for the years to come, regardless of whether the necessary change begins with Trump or begins in the years to come. There is simply no conclusion that can be drawn from the results of this election which justifies any slackening of patriotic resolve. To the Fed jacketers, who are living under the illusion that nationalism was just a mirage made up to discredit race-blind conservatives, I will be more than happy to continue to contradict you with my existence. Patriot Front is larger than ever, more active than ever, and more able than ever to intercept the political mainstream with our ideas. Patriot Front will now have endured under 3 separate presidential administrations. Another nail in the coffin of the Fed allegation is being hammered. If the organization was truly some federal ploy through and through, the new president could expose the matter or stop it completely with a phone call. After all, the president is the biggest Fed there is. Fed jacketers will have to grapple with why that won't happen, and perhaps a few will come to the proper and necessary realizations. Rest assured that the organization will continue in its tireless, nationwide, and uncompromising efforts to restore virtue to our people, sovereignty to our nation, and security to our families.